Om Namo Bhagavati Sarada भगवती शारदा देविये ओम। ओम नमो भगवती शारदा देविये ओम। ओम नमो भगवती शारदा देविये ओम। ओम नमो भगवते राम कृष्णाय। ओम नमो भगवती शारदा देविये ओम। ओम श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय।
ओम बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बनेंगे बिगड़े तेरे काम,
बनेंगे बिगड़े तेरे काम,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा।
राम नाम जीवन का सहारा, राम बिना सुना जग सारा,
राम नाम जीवन का सहारा, राम बिना सुना जग सारा,
राम बिना सुना तन मन धन सुना तेरा धाम,
राम बिना सुना तन मन धन सुना तेरा धाम,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बनेंगे बिगड़े तेरे काम,
बनेंगे बिगड़े तेरे काम,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा।
ये दुनिया दरिया का पानी, माया की नगरी अज्ञानी,
ये दुनिया दरिया का पानी, माया की नगरी अज्ञानी,
अपने पराये सब मतलब के साथरी का नाम,
अपने पराये सब मतलब के साथ हरि का नाम,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बनेंगे बिगड़े तेरे काम,
बनेंगे बिगड़े तेरे काम,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा।
चार दिनों की ये उजियारी, फिर तेरी दुनिया अंधियारी,
चार दिनों की ये के मन में बसते राम।
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा।
बनेंगे बिगड़े तेरे काम,
बनेंगे बिगड़े तेरे काम।
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा,
बसाले मन मंदिर मेरा। ओम श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय। पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। श्री अम्बे अम्बे मात की जय। श्री सियावर रामचंद्र की जय। नयनारविन्दं श्री स्वामी विवेकानन्द। नयनारविन्दं
આશા પૂરી ગરબો ગાય હૈયે હરખ નમાય જગમગ જ્યોતિ જલે છે માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં
આશા પૂરી ગરબો ગાય હૈયે હરખ નમાય જગમગ જ્યોતિ જલે છે માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં
આશા પૂરી ગરબો ગાય હૈયે હરખ નમાય જગમગ જ્યોતિ જલે છે માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં
આશા પૂરી ગરબો ગાય હૈયે હરખ નમાય જગમગ જ્યોતિ જલે છે માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં
આકાશેથી માતા આવી સૌ દેવોના મન ભાવી
આકાશેથી માતા આવી સૌ દેવોના મન ભાવી
બ્રહ્મા વિષ્ણુ મહેશ ઉભા સાથમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં
બ્રહ્મા વિષ્ણુ મહેશ ઉભા સાથમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં
આવ્યા પાર્વતી માતા મનમાં હરખ ન માતા
આવ્યા પાર્વતી માતા મનમાં હરખ ન માતા
નવ દુર્ગા આવે છે બહુ તાનમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં
નવ દુર્ગા આવે છે બહુ તાનમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં
શારદા માતા છે એક એના નામ છે અનેક
શારદા માતા છે એક એના નામ છે અનેક
જેવા જેવા ધર્યા રૂપ તેવા તેવા ધર્યા નામ
જેવા જેવા દરિયા રૂપ તેવા તેવા દરિયા નામ
માનો જયકાર બોલાય છે ત્રણેય લોકમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં
માનો જયકાર બોલાય છે ત્રણેય લોકમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં
જે કોઈ પ્રેમે ગરબો ગાય તેના સર્વો દુઃખો જાય
જે કોઈ પ્રેમે ગરબો ગાય તેના સર્વો દુઃખો જાય
તેને પરવી મરે છે ત્રણેય લોકમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં
તેને પરવી મરે છે તને લોકમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં
આશા પૂરી ગરબો ગાય હૈયે હરખ નમાય જગમગ જ્યોતિ જલે છે માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં
આશા પૂરી ગરબો ગાય હૈયે હરખ નમાય જગમગ જ્યોતિ જલે છે માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં
જે કોઈ પ્રેમે ગરબો ગાય તેના સર્વો દુઃખો જાય.
જે કોઈ પ્રેમે ગરબો ગાય તેના સર્વો દુઃખો જાય.
તેને પરવી મરે છે કન્ને લોકમાં. ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની મના ચોખમાં. ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની મના ચોખમાં.
તેને પરવી મળે છે તને લોકમાં. ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની મના ચોકમાં. ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની મના ચોકમાં.
ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની મના ચોખમાં.
ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની મના ચોકમાં.
ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની મના ચોખમાં.
ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની મના ચોકમાં.
ખેલ ખેલ રે ભવાની માના ચોખમાં.
ઓમ શ્રી રામ કૃષ્ણ ભગવાન કી જય.
ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीधितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ते भूरिदा जना. The nectar of thy sin-effacing utterances brings life and hope to those scorched by misery. They are extolled by the wise sages, and the mere listening to them would bestow auspiciousness on all. They confer every prosperity. Those who spread them broadcast are verily magnanimous. They distribute what is completely satisfying to the hearers. Om Namo Narayanaya. The following are excerpts taken from the book entitled For Seekers of God, Spiritual Talks of Mahapurush Swami Shivananda. Swami Shivananda was a direct disciple of the Master, Sri Ramakrishna. In honor of his great sense of renunciation and self-control, Swami Vivekananda referred to him as Mahapurush, or Great Soul. The place, Monastery at Belur, Headquarters, Ramakrishna Mutt and Mission, India, Thursday, October 28, 1920. In the morning, according to their custom, the monks of the monastery at Belur gathered upstairs in Swami Shivananda Mahapurushji's room, where he was seated, looking very serious and indrawn. Presently, a monk who had come from a branch center a few days previously unburdened his mind, saying, "Maharaj, though I have been practicing meditation to the best of my ability, I find hardly any joy in it. Most often, I find I go through the practice as though through a routine. That does not satisfy my heart, nor does it give me any peace." Mahapurushji said very quietly, "Look here, my boy. Peace is not such an easy thing to attain. The way to peace is very difficult, full of thorns. Sharp as the blade of a razor and hard to cross is the way to self-knowledge. So the sages have described it." These are the actual words of the illumined seers. The path is indeed extremely difficult, however easy it may seem to those who have not entered it. Great effort is required to make progress in the realm of the spirit. But if one sincerely wants to realize God, it is certainly true that he will receive His grace. You must have read in the life of Sri Ramakrishna that even he had to go through tremendous spiritual discipline before gaining the vision of the Mother. Spiritual efforts without sincere love for God are fruitless. Sincere love is what counts. The Master used to say that when the three attachments, that of a devoted wife for her husband, of a mother for her child, and of a miser for his wealth, become one, then one realizes God. If anyone feels the same intense longing as would result if these three attachments were united, only then does he have God vision. Sincere love brings God realization, and in that alone is genuine peace and joy. Of course, without the grace of God, one cannot have such love overnight, and that is why regular practice is necessary. One should cry to the Lord, laying bare the heart, "O Lord, be merciful to me. I am an ordinary man. How can I hope to realize Thee unless Thou vouchsafest to appear before me? Have mercy on me, O Lord. Have mercy on this weak being." Pray this way to Him every day. The more you cry to Him, the more your mind will be cleansed. The Lord will reveal Himself to the pure, transparent mind. Belur Mutt, August 1925. It was about 8:30 in the evening. Mahapurushji was seated on a couch in his room, talking with a monk belonging to the ashram at Jamtara. He said, "Today I received a letter from so-and-so." In the letter he wrote specifically about himself. He mentioned that one evening he had come to the railway station to see you off, and returning to the monastery after 10 o'clock, he had had his supper and gone to sleep without finishing the daily routine practice of japa. Later at night, when he awakened and remembered his mistake, he felt very bad. He consulted the sadhus of the ashram and asked what amends he should make for the mistake. Nobody could give him a satisfactory answer. Being much disturbed and repentant, he wrote for my advice, requesting that I write my opinion of what he should do, that I prescribe some penance. I shall write to him accordingly. A brahmacharin asked, "Maharaj, what penance would you prescribe?" Mahapurushji replied, "Not much of a penance. Let him fast a day, 24 hours, and practice japa all he can during the fast period. Of course, it doesn't have to be a complete fast in which one is not supposed to even drink water. He may eat 1 or 2 pieces worth of puffed rice. At night, too, as far as practical, he should do japa, counting his beads not less than 10,000 times. Such rigid adherence to spiritual practice is very good. It is important that we understand what is meant by fasting. For those who eat meat, fasting constitutes giving up meat for the period of the fast. Others omit salt, while some partake of water alone. All of these are equivalent as sacrifices. Fasting is not about what one sacrifices, but rather the state of the mind that one develops during that period. One should try to focus on God and make a concerted effort to fight the vices of lust, anger, greed, etc., thus developing discipline, which in time will be imprinted on one's everyday life. Like any offering made to God, fasting has to be sincere, and we should do our best to maintain our fast. A monk to Swamiji. Swami Brahmanandaji also asked me to do something similar. He said, "Repeat the mantra 10,000 times every day. It will do you immense good, and continue this at least for a year." But I couldn't keep up with the practice for a year at a stretch. Nowadays, the duties of the ashram keep me so busy that I hardly find time for spiritual practice. Mahapurushji. It can so happen that owing to the pressure of work, a person may once in a while not be able to do his usual amount of spiritual practice, but he should not omit it altogether. Of course, work at the monastery is also a form of service of the Lord and makes one think of Him, but one should not, therefore, totally neglect the practice of meditation and japa. How long can a person do work? A time will come when he will lack the physical energy to do it. How will he then occupy his time? Besides, unless work is accompanied by meditation, japa, and other spiritual practices, its very spirit is lost. Then one forgets that it is the Lord's work and not his own. egoism and pride come, and instead of being purified by the work, the heart becomes defiled. The object of one's life is not work, it is the realization of God. The work that makes one forget God is highly degenerate. In the midst of 101 activities, a person should keep up his regular spiritual practice. That alone can bring genuine serenity of mind. That alone can make a person fit to engage in work in the right spirit. Bilur Monastery, Thursday, July 10, 1930. After 3 or 4 days of ceaseless downpour, the sun was up for a while today. It was Guru Purnima. Many devotees came to the monastery and several had been initiated. One of the newly initiated devotees asked, "Maharaj, is there any definite rule as to how many times we should do japa every day?" Mahapurushji replied, "No, there is no definite rule regarding that. The more you repeat the name of the Lord, the better, of course. If someone wishes to repeat the name of the Lord 5 or 10,000 times, he can do so with great devotion, keeping track of the number, and that would be very beneficial." A devotee asked, "If I feel like doing japa while I walk, can I do so?" Mahapurushji, "Of course, if someone wishes to repeat the name of the Lord, surely you may. Japa, or taking the name of the Lord, is something you can do whenever you wish. Under all conditions and circumstances, one can repeat the name of the Lord. Japa is not restricted to a time or place. Of course, one should repeat the name with devotion. Then alone will one have joy and peace in one's heart. Whenever there is genuine desire from within, one can do japa, whether for 10 minutes, half an hour or more. Do not force yourself. Forced practice will not do much good. It is all a relationship of love. The relationship the devotee has with God is one of love. It has nothing to do with force. Pray very sincerely, "I do not know how to love thee. Graciously draw me to thee and teach me to love thee." Devotee, "Shall I practice Sandhya and repeat the Gayatri mantra?" Mahapurushji said, "Sandhya and Gayatri and things of that nature come under the category of Vedic rituals. It is very good to practice them. If it is not convenient to practice Sandhya, you may omit it, but you should certainly repeat the Gayatri mantra. It is a spiritual practice of a very high order. It is a prayer to the primordial being who produced the 3 worlds of Bhu, Bhuva, and Sva, so that he may give us right understanding." Later, after most of the devotees left the room, one stayed behind to discuss a personal matter. Devotee to Mahapurushji, "Maharaj, I have done many awful things in my life. I am a great sinner. Kindly accept me as a disciple and be gracious to me. Otherwise, what will happen to me? I am afraid you too will condemn me if I tell you all the sins that I have committed in my life." Mahapurushji replied, "My child, you need not be afraid. From today you are free of all sins. Have faith in this. So long as Sri Ramakrishna has drawn you to him, you have no reason to be afraid, my child. Now you have become his. The Master is the ocean of selfless mercy. He is kind to those who are lowly. He is the Redeemer of souls. You have taken refuge at his feet. From today, you have a new body. You are reborn. You are no longer a sinner, my child. From today, you are one of his children and servants. Do you understand me, my child? The Master has taken you in his arms, shaking the dust and dirt from your body. From now on, forget all past misdeeds. Never cherish those thoughts in your mind anymore. Repeat His name joyously and with great devotion. Your life will be sweetened. All of God's creation is loved and is dear to Him. We need but call out to God sincerely and with a longing heart. May we be blessed with such loving and longing for the divine. Hari Om Tat Sat.
मन मुकुर सुधार वरनो रघुवर विमल यश जोदायक फलचार बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरो पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेश विकार सियावर रामचंद्र की जय पवन सुत हनुमान की जय श्री अम्बे अम्बे मात की जय चौपाई जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीश तिहु लोक उजागर रामदूत तुलित बल धामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी कंचन बरन विराज सुवेशा कानन कुंडल कुंचित केशा हाथ वज्र और ध्वजा विराजे कान्धे मूज जनेऊ साजे शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया राम लखन चिंतामन बसिया सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सिया दिखावा विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे रामचंद्र के काज सवारे लाए संजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हर्ष उर लाए रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरत सम भाई सहस बदन तुम्हरो यश गावे अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीषा नारद शारद सहित अहीशा यम कुबेर दिक्पाल जहाते कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीवहि कीन्हा राम मिलाए राजपद दीन्हा तुम्हरो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना। युग सहस्र योजन पर भानो, लील्योताहि मधुर फल जानो। प्रभु मोद्रिका मिलि मुख माहि, जल्दी राम जय अचरज नाहि। दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते, सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हरे तेते। राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे, होत न आज्ञा बिन पैसारे। सब सुख लहे तुम्हारी शरणा, तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना। आपने तेज समारो आपे, तीनों लोक हांकते कापे। भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे। नाशे रोग हरे सब पीरा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीरा। संकट से हनुमान छुड़ावे, मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे। सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा, तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा। और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे, शाश्वत जीवन फल पावे। चारों युग परताप तुम्हारा, है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा। साधु संत के तुम रखवारे, असुरी कंदन राम दुलारे। अष्ट सिद्धि नवनिधि के दाता, असवर दीन जानकी माता। राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा, सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा। तुम्हारे भजन राम को भावे, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे। अंतकाल रघुपति पुर जाई, जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई। और देवता चेतन धरई, हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई। संकट हरे मिटे सब पीरा, जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलवीरा। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करो गुरुदेव की नाई। जो शुक्रवार पाठ कर कोई, छूटई बंदी महासुख होई। जोया परे हनुमान चालीसा, होय सिद्धि साखी गौरीशा। तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा, जय नाथ हृदय महादेरा। जय नाथ हृदय महादेरा। दोहा
पवन तनय संकट हरण, मंगल मूर्ति राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय सुरभूप। सियावर रामचंद्र की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। श्री अम्बे अम्बे मात की जय।
Om Namo Narayanaya, dear sisters, brothers and loving children. Let us sit calmly and concentrate our minds on the radiant form of God seated in our hearts. Sri Ramakrishna says, "Sing with devotion the holy name of God, and the mountain of your errors will vanish." May God fill our hearts with love and devotion. May we enjoy peace and contentment. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ॐ तत्सत्
जय श्री गुरु महाराज की
जय।
महामाई की
जय।
स्वामी जी महाराज की
जय।
गंगा मात की
जय।
महावीर स्वामी जी की
जय।
सर्व ऋषि मुनीन की
जय। पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव की जय। ॐ नमो नारायणाय।
Narayanaya, dear devotees. Today we will be delving into the Hinduism for Children book, which incorporates many stories and teachings that we can apply to our lives. This book summarizes spiritual values and a useful way of life. Important scriptures like the Vedas, the Ramayana, and the Mahabharata are our guide. Also summarized are the lives and teachings of the Holy Trio, which have already been discussed from previous levels. Let us begin by discussing the Vedas. These are the oldest scriptures in Hinduism. They are divided into 4 parts called Rig, Atharva, Yajur, and Sama. The Vedas are interconnected and discuss concepts like God is one, His names and forms are many, being good and doing good, the essence of any religion. The Vedas also discuss rituals and prayers. The concluding sections of the Vedas are called the Upanishads. This word itself is defined as sitting close to a great spiritual teacher. The teacher or guru imparts spiritual wisdom, knowledge of our true divine selves. Moreover, these Upanishads further explain that God pervades the whole universe and is present in all beings. However, we are caught in an illusion, or maya, that deludes us. The stories and incidents that we will relate will enlighten us. The first story is about Vedvyas. He was a really special child named Dvaipayana. He grew up to become a very learned rishi who wrote the Mahabharata, compiled the Vedas, and is regarded as our first guru or spiritual teacher. We celebrate his life and the lives of other spiritual teachers on Guru Purnima Day. Another great rishi is sage Valmiki. Initially known as Ratnakar, he was a robber who resorted to crime in order to support his family. When he tried to rob sage Narad, Narad asked Ratnakar if his family would share in the punishment for his crimes. All the family members refused to accept punishment for his evil actions, and so Ratnakar realized that his crimes were in vain. Narad Muni advised him to give up his evil ways and repeat the name of Sri Ram. But when Ratnakar tried to say Rama, he would instead say Mara, which means kill. And so for years he sat trying to repeat God's name, and in that time, a huge anthill, or Valmika, grew around him. Eventually his repetition of Mara had no beginning or end. Mara changed to Rama. A robber changed into a rishi, and something that started incorrectly turned out to be good. God can transform the bad into the good, but only if we first make the effort to change. God sees everything and knows everything. He is eternal. Ratnakar was now called Valmiki since the anthill grew around him. He wrote the Ramayana, which tells the story of Sri Ram, an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, who took birth to save the world from the evil Ravan. Born in Ayodhya to King Dashrath and Kaushalya, Sri Ram was the epitome of truth and righteousness. His younger brothers, Bharat, son of Kaikeyi, and Lakshman and Shatrughna, sons of Sumitra, were also virtuous and loved by all. As this story has already been discussed by the previous group, we shall not go through the details. God always takes birth to uphold righteousness and dispel doubt. This is seen in the life of Sri Krishna, who is also an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Sri Krishna was born in Mathura to Vasudeva and Devaki, who had been imprisoned by Devaki's brother, Kans. Through God's divine play, or Leela, baby Krishna was carried to the house of Nanda and Yashoda in Gokul. There he won the hearts of the village folk, while also destroying the demons sent by his wicked uncle. Eventually Sri Krishna returned to Mathura, where he destroyed Kans and freed his parents. He became the king of Dwaraka and assisted his cousins, the Pandavas, with their dispute against the Kauravas. The story of the Kauravas and the Pandavas is known as the Mahabharata. The 5 Pandava brothers, Yudhishthir, Bhim, Arjun, Nakul, and Sahadev, were righteous and were heirs to the kingdom in Hastinapur. Their cousins, the Kauravas, also heirs, wanted the kingdom for themselves and cheated the Pandavas of the throne. Hence a righteous war was waged on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the great Mahabharata war. When Arjun saw his kin, friends, and teachers on the opposing side, he refused to fight. Sri Krishna, the world teacher, then delivered the message of the Bhagavad Gita to Arjun and to all of humanity. In his message about our duties, our real nature, and being steady-minded, Sri Krishna teaches us how to realize God. Arjun's doubts were dispelled, and he fought the war to uphold dharma, righteousness. Next is the story of Lord Buddha, who also wanted to know the true meaning of life. He inquired about death, old age, sickness, and disease. These are very pertinent questions that cause confusion and anguish, especially now in 2020. Long ago, there was a king named Sudhodan who had a son named Siddhartha. It was prophesied that when young Siddhartha saw the old, the sick, and the dead, he would give up the kingdom. So his father, Sudhodan, shielded his son from the miseries of life. But Siddhartha grew stifled in the confines of the castle and wanted to see the world. So Sudhodan ordered the entire city to be decorated. When Siddhartha came outside, he saw beautiful things around him, the colors, fragrances, and sounds. However, soon after, he saw an old man struggling to walk, a sick man who was in pain, and a dead body with the family in mourning. These realities of life opened his eyes. Everything was not as rosy as his life in the palace. So he left it, experienced many hardships, and eventually reached Bodh Gaya. Here he sat under a bo tree until he received enlightenment. He experienced the good and the bad to achieve steady-mindedness and bliss. These stories and events teach us that God comes to our aid when we try to overcome negative forces like lust, anger, greed, and other vices.